Welcome to the newest installment of Revenue Management Solutions Revenue Stream. I'm Tracy Henderson, founder of CenterReach Communications. I'm here with RMS's VP of Consulting Services, Chris Norton, and Christina Norton, RMS's Director of Behavioral Research. It's not a surprise that their names sound similar. They are actually married and have worked together since the 1990s. Kudos to both of you, and thanks for being here.
Thanks very much, Tracy. Wonderful beer. 1990 sounds like ages ago, and it really was.
Yeah, we're happy to join and ready to share some of our recent insights.
Exactly, Christina. We're here to talk about RMS's most recent consumer survey. It's the fourth in a series that RMS launched in April to help give their clients something to go on as the pandemic took over. This particular survey is focused on loyalty and drive-through and had 830 US consumers that responded. So I was very surprised to see that 75% of respondents had visited a drive-through at least once in the past 2 months. 75%. And when you segment the data, those numbers went up to 88% for families and 85% for the younger generations, Gen Z and millennials. Chris, you work with some of the biggest brands in QSR today. Were these stats surprising? And do you think these trends are here to stay?
I think when we went into the COVID experience, Tracy, there were a lot of surprises awaiting us because we really couldn't predict what was coming down the pipeline. But the bottom line is that in quick service, drive-thrus play a predominant role in the revenue streams. As you noted, 65% of revenue is with drive-thrus. And what we've seen during the COVID pandemic is that get up into the 85%. I don't believe that this is something that's going to go away. I think that what happens in these types of situations is that what was once a new behavior for a consumer becomes something that's a regular behavior. And I don't see that going away. I think that the whole concept of dining out, of getting your food has moved from, 6 out of 10 drive-through, 4 out of 10 going into the restaurants. It's become more of a drive-through scenario, and I don't think that's going to change. I think it's something that most of the big brands have recognized. Even many have started before COVID to focus on how to maximize the drive-through experience and maximize the revenue from the drive-through experience. And those who did that before the pandemic have certainly put themselves in a good position. But this is here to stay. This is not something that's going away.
What are you seeing in terms of focus from some of your clients as it relates to this new 8 out of 10 consumer?
Well, again, I think one of the things that we've seen and that we've talked about with these brands is how do you make the drive-through experience into a personalized journey for each of the individuals? I think that over the last number of years, we've really looked at how the whole concept of marketing has moved away from marketing to the masses to marketing to one. And I don't think that's changed at all. Or I think that has changed the whole drive-through experience, where in years gone by, if someone decided to go to a drive-through, here's your static menu board, pick what you like, and hopefully it gets into the bag everything that you ordered, and then you've gone away. I think what we're seeing now, though, is the emphasis on how do we ensure that when a consumer has selected our brand for a drive-through, we can maximize the revenue of that consumer when they come to us. As I mentioned previously, there's several big brands who have got on the drive-through focus and how do we personalize that journey even before COVID, and those are the ones who are in a wonderful position because they got a head start. But we see when I talk about the personalized journey, we see how brands are focusing on their consumer even before they've arrived at the drive-through. We've talked about the geofencing and how you identify consumers that are in your area, and they use technology, which is essentially through your mobile device there's a perimeter around your restaurant that essentially alerts the restaurant that a loyal customer, we're talking about loyalty as well. A loyal customer is in your area with their app, and what the brand will try to do is to appeal to them through that mobile device to come and utilize the drive-through experience. That's just the step one. So they haven't even arrived at the drive-through yet. They've been identified as a potential consumer who has some loyalty or has the app. They come to the restaurant, to the drive-through, and that's the first step in that personalized journey.
Yeah, it was interesting also from the survey. Christina, this might be something you want to talk about as the director of behavioral research. Food ranked fourth in the things that are most important about the drive-through experience. That was really surprising to me.
Yes, that's right. In our survey, food actually ranked fourth in importance behind speed, accuracy, and service. I think, we expected factors having to do with convenience and getting the order right to be essential. But service is an interesting one. From our open text comments on our survey, we see how much customers actually value a friendly voice, the audio quality of the speaker, the microphone, whether the order taker double checked for verification, and even like the final pleasant send off. So these service details were clearly impactful and were top of mind. We also found that 50% of the consumers would not return to a given drive-through after a bad experience. So they reported switching behaviors as being certainly perceived and relatively easy to do. So switching to another option or another brand. So service matters and the experience matters. I think also, convenience might be the word most frequently associated with drive-through, but wrapped in that is the concept within convenience is consumers seek an enjoyable and a seamless drive-through experience.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about people being fickle if they feel like they had a bad experience, or I imagine, we didn't talk about this, but I imagine if there's a line 10 deep, I don't need to go to QSR 1, I'm going to go to QSR 2. Where does the loyalty play into that? And was the survey helpful or insightful as it relates to the loyalty programs?
Yeah, the loyalty program really is key, and you see the technology that goes with that loyalty program really enhances the experience. So greater convenience, less friction, a more, like you said, personalized experience. And of course, the added bonus of the access to special promotions. That's still number one. That's the number one reasons consumers report why they join a loyalty program. And loyalty programs are really the opportunity to grab certainly market share, but particularly a younger audience. And those younger audiences, say Gen Z and millennials, are more likely to join loyalty programs, and they value the convenience. So they specifically point out that convenience factor that they provide. And I think it's important to note, many brands like Chipotle record record numbers of new members joining their loyalty programs since the pandemic.
What were the numbers as it related to your survey respondents? That loyalty program, or?
Yeah, 25% referenced a new program that they joined. So that's, it's across all age groups in general.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Chris, you talked about geofencing and the ability, because I'm a loyalty app user, you can track me coming into the parking lot. How important, or what other technology do you foresee really grabbing hold given this, rapid change we're seeing?
The whole suggestive cell engine is really a very technologically driven way for the personalized journey to be developed, as well as build revenue, right? It's an upsell, essentially what's happening. In fact, that even starts before they get to the main menu board. That starts at pre-boards, at the pre-menu board. So if you're waiting in line and there's 3, 4, 5 cars, you get into that line, how can you keep that consumer interested in what they're doing, and how can you start to plant in their mind perhaps changing their order. I think there's the statistics that I think Christina and the survey came up with, that was it 78% never or rarely change their order based on the drive-through operator, yet 61% are influenced by menu boards. So if you've got 6 out of 10 of your consumers with the opportunity to trade them up or to have additional add-on items, that's a huge opportunity for a brand in terms of driving that revenue. So the pre-board can plant in the mind of the consumer a need state, whether that's a drink that's being poured, whether that's just the look of a really tasty burger. And then as they move to the digital menu board, where the huge percentage actually know exactly what they're going to purchase, but how can you get them to alter that behavior in terms of trading them up or having that incremental additional add-on? That's what that suggestive selling engine does. It takes those macro environmental factors in, temporal factors in, and really does a good job in enhancing that purchasing experience, as do the confirmation boards, the menu confirmation order board, where you can see when you're making the order with your order taker what is coming up in terms of the overall order. So the technology in terms of that is really, really growing in leaps and bounds, and the ultimate objective is to increase the revenue spend and to ensure that the consumer understands what their options are without slowing down the speed of the drive-through service.
Christina, you're the human part of this equation. Do you want fries with that? Doesn't seem like it's relevant anymore. And it seems like, based on those stats that Chris just mentioned, that the human touch is far less effective in, at least maybe driving check size. What is your opinion on, are we turning into bots?
I would say not exactly. So, the drive-through experience can be overwhelming, and it's multi-sensory. It's also multitasking. Imagine you're reading the menu board while you're listening to the order taker. So that's challenging, especially for a first-time user. And when you look at the reported reactions and behaviors from the survey, to me, they suggest the consumer refers to the menu board and advertising panels or pre-menu boards when it comes to influencing their menu choices. And I think they seek the human touch for creating the positive experience. So I describe that as like putting a smile on your face or in your voice. And that's the hospitality component. And that's how I read the results of our surveys on that front. We also, Chris mentioned, the incentives and the suggestive sells, and that's really important, no doubt, but it certainly also initially attracts a customer when you talk about loyalty programs and these type of incentives. But, we're also talking about creating bonds with the brand, and that's, I think, the key for bringing people back. And that goes beyond being loyal to the loyalty program, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was surprised. We talked a little bit about this, that loyalty users of the younger generations were more likely to engage with social media for that brand. Obviously, they're going to be users of social media more than a Gen Xer like me or a baby boomer. But is there a sense of, finding a community in this isolation?
Yeah, so we saw 60% of Gen Z or over 60% of Gen Z and millennials engage with these brands on social media. So absolutely, I think you're right. They seek community, a greater connection to the brand, and I should also say to the culture. That comes up in the open text comments quite regularly. And also not minimizing the impact and the value that the younger generations attribute to the convenience through technology. So I think those are two key differentiators that we see coming out of the younger generations and what they're looking for and how they describe the benefits of a loyalty program.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and speaking of the younger generation, ladies first or men first, what do you both see on the priority list for restaurants in 2021 and beyond?
Well, I think that if we think about what we've been through since the middle of March in terms of our experience at restaurants, certainly safety has become one of the, I think one of the top, the number one topic or concern that consumers have. When you think about even when we focus on drive-thrus, there are still many consumers who are hesitant to go through the drive-thru because it's not contactless, because the bag is still being handed out the window to the person who's purchasing it. That's something that's certainly a focus on the changing role of the drive-thru and how we can maximize that experience. But I think safety is a big piece in terms of priorities moving forward as we get through this pandemic. But I don't think it's going to change in terms of the consumers and how they approach that experience.
I just want to jump in there. I was truly interested in and it's positively so, in finding out that the results of our survey when it comes to safety protocols and best practices, the results show that respondents really have a high level of confidence in restaurants, in the restaurant industry, and particularly large chains, and how they've handled COVID. And I think, asking what is the priority for restaurants, definitely going to the data, and more than ever, how important data is in terms of not only imagining that personalized and realizing that personalized journey that we talk about, but looking at actual behavior and responding to those trends that we see enable restaurants to change and adapt very creatively. Mm-hmm. And again, that comes down to the data.
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned data earlier. Any final thoughts?
Well, I mean, we know that data is the most valuable currency in the world right now, because that's in order for the things that we've spoken about today, be it loyalty or be it the drive-thru. Data is the engine that drives the technology that really is utilized to make more money and to create a better experience for the consumer. It's the lifeblood. It's the DNA of any brand. We talk about with RMS and pricing, the POS data that we receive on a weekly basis from the brands that we work with at a restaurant level. It's that restaurant's DNA, right? It's the uniqueness of that individual restaurant and the consumers that visit that restaurant. So data is the driving force behind any of the technology that is developed in order to ensure that the consumer is having their expectations met and that the restaurant is maximizing the revenue opportunities. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that even data and even new technology is not going to speed up the kitchen process per se, because you've got people back there. Christina was talking about the order taker. We know we have ways of actually getting around the order taker with technology in terms of natural language programming, where we say something and then it's automatically into the POS. That might take that individual out, but right now, in terms of the kitchens and what's going on in the kitchens, while we have great technology where we've got the data that we can maximize, if what's going on in the back of the house isn't up to speed or following what's going on with the technology and the data, there's still a big challenge here. So for me, when we talk about what are the trends, I mentioned safety. I think it's data, but the marriage of data and the human element in order to then deliver that product, because you have to have those people who are making the product and delivering it in terms of the brand promise.
This has been so interesting for me, and I think gives a little more data for operators, your clients, and really all of us to think about as we drive forward into this strange new land. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks so much, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you for joining us today. To stay up to date with Revenue Stream and RMS's new insights, go to revenuemanage.com or follow the brand on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. Thank you for being here.